Hi, I'm Drew.
And I'm Sam.
And welcome to Drewling Samantics.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Drewling Samantics. And there he is. Hello. My podcasting partner in crime. How the devil are you?
I'm all the better for seeing you, Sam. All the better for seeing you, mate. It's good to be here.
Clearly in a good mood because you're being nice to me. But how you been, mate? Busy?
Yes, very busy, but equally busy yourself, haven't you? So I know you're dashing around, but yes, a good week.
Busy enough to warrant refreshment. And I have to say, mate, I'm slightly different this week. Now, obviously, we cannot avoid a certain event that sadly happened this week. Earlier this week, obviously, the passing of our Queen, which is very sad. It's 70 years old on the throne and just the most amazing monarch. Certainly the only one either of us have ever known.
I don't know. Yes.
Yeah. So now, obviously, we will experience the King. But so I thought, as that sad event happened, I thought I'd honour, and I don't often drink anymore, as you're well aware. So I thought I'd make an exception today. So I thought I'd be able to raise a glass of nice bubbly beer to old Lizzie.
Now that is ironic because I can raise a glass, but I'm on the soft stuff at the moment. But the sentiment will be just as strong.
Of course, yes. So to dear old Queen Elizabeth, may she rest in peace. Yeah,
there you go.
Cheers, mate.
Yes,
but yes, and I mean, obviously, the Queen didn't directly have a lot to do with our industry. However, I did read an article day after, or a couple of days after she did pass away, in that they're going to change the name of the theatre. So, you know, Her Majestys Theatre in the West End is going to become His Majesty's Theatre. So they're going to follow on now with Charles coming in to replace his dear old mum. So I thought that was quite an interesting, and there's a link for us between the Queen and what we do.
There's also, interestingly, I've heard that there's been a directive. I mean, there was a directive on the evening of how theatres dealt with delivering, the sad news, and there were procedures in place. But also, I don't know when the funeral is to be, but there's also been a directive from the palace saying that theatres will, under their own cognizance, but they are allowed to stay open. There will be performances on the evening of her funeral. So I think that's a good way, because she was always praised for her continuity and strength of keeping things going. Yes. And in a crisis, she was a backbone. So I think probably she set the precedent for that. And they said, she would probably wish for things to carry on and not be disturbed. So I guess in a way that's very fitting for things to remain as normal as they could be on a day such as that.
Of course, yeah. In fact, weren't you doing a show on the night, or the night of the day that she passed? Indeed.
We were Verona, myself, and Ed playing Basil. We were giving a Fawlty Towers show in Suffolk, at the Peacock Inn in Suffolk. If anybody goes there, do go there. Lovely, lovely, lovely place. But we were. It was a charity evening. And we didn't know. We were getting ready, and the manager of the restaurant, the hotel, came to us and said, well, the pub, said to us, "Don't know if you've heard the sad news, but Her Majesty has passed away." And it's a little bit of because we were like, oh, that's going to be, not selfishly thinking, but it's like, that's going to be terribly difficult now if people know or don't know to do a comedy show, in the light of that sad news. But the manager said, I'd like to make the announcement, if we can, and then do a minute's silence and then go into the show. It's like, okay. So we handled it in a way of, this is the world, and then we'll go into the world of Fawlty.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And where we were, that we thought there would be quite a strong, royalist sentiment. So Basil made the announcement very straight. He went, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Peacock Inn. Before we kick off this evening's proceedings, we'd just like to say, blah, the Queen has passed away. Let's have a minute's silence, which we duly did. We then banged the dinner gong and we went into the show. People were shocked. Some people hadn't heard. But the idea that we carried on and did the show, we had a very lovely evening. And afterwards, it was only afterwards that once we packed up and were leaving, people were going, that was very sad, but thank you very much for carrying on. Thank you for, entertaining us tonight. And it was, in like, we will now go away and, react accordingly, as they feel. But we thought at first it would be a tricky night. Yeah. And what actually turned out was, in a way, people treated a jolly evening as a celebration. Yeah. In a strange way. So it worked very nicely. It was we thought it'd be tricky, but actually turned out to be a very good night, and an interesting one.
I'm very, very glad all went well, because and the reason I asked was because obviously things like football matches have been cancelled and various other things have sort of been stopped, and it's where do you sort of draw the line, and people talk about respect and things like that, but actually what you're saying there seems highly appropriate to have that sort of the stiff British upper lip kind of thing and go carry on in the face of adversity. But in this case, it's more like good old British humour. Well, that she stood for good old British rights, and that was really kind of appropriate. I
mean, it might have been terribly difficult to go, okay, ladies and gentlemen, well, they're all assembled there waiting for dinner and entertainment, and go, right, this is terribly sad, so everything's off. It might have been very faulty to say that in a strange way, but also it was like that would have been terribly disappointing. It's a strange dichotomy, and we think we did it. Not, the comments afterwards were that we treated it very well, and the management everywhere happy. So and we have been asked back, so we must have done something right.
yeah, you can't have been that bad afterwards.
Can't have been that bad. No.
So go on then. We'll stick with our sort of traditional, certainly for this season. You must have some news from the industry to keep everyone entertained. What's going on in our world, Mr.
Well, I refer to my notes. Actually, there's a couple of little things that have gone on. We have, obviously we've got a new Prime Minister, and along with that, her cabinet has changed, and we've got a new Culture Secretary, Michelle Donnellan. Now, I was no great fan of Nadine Dorries. I don't think many in the industry were.
No, I think you may have mentioned something in a certain episode.
I might have done. Yeah. There was a distinctly lacking in her knowledge. Now, Michelle, whilst not being a theatre, a huge theatre knowledge, she has worked in marketing. She did work for a production company, a wrestling production company.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure in what capacity, but she does have more knowledge of theatre and the media, and also in light of recent sort of energy developments and spending, theatres were going to be very hard hit, particularly coming into the winter and a big building to heat and power. Theatres and arts venues are going to be hit quite heavily, but there has been a promise of 6 months support to theatres and venues from Liz Truss and her cabinet. So she has seen and has taken the opportunity to see theatre as a functioning industry, which we know previous administration was slow to do during the pandemic. So I'm hoping that we may have turned a corner with the new Culture Secretary.
Well, everything is crossed, and we'll just have to see what the future does hold. But certainly it seems more positive than it has been previously. Let's hope that it's not just we're new, let's try and seem happy and friendly, and then it all goes out the window down the line.
But a very interesting thing, another little bit of news, a hangover from the Brexit and travel visas and work visas. Circuses that are famously known for having international acts and international casts, for want of a better word, they are experiencing and are predicting further difficulties because of visas, not only for English circuses and the English circus performers to perform on the continent and in Europe, but also circuses that have a large international cast traveling around is going to be difficult. So they are predicting that bookings, and if there will be delays in travel and difficulties in moving acts around. I mean, if you look at, probably the most famous circus, Cirque du Soleil, they're multinational casts, course, yeah. But amongst those are English performers.
Yes.
Now, if you've got a whole circus that can travel, and then you've got an act that can't, you're going to have to think round that. Now, does that mean that English circus acts, circus performers are not going to be hired, and English circuses are not going to be hired? That could be a huge, huge problem. So it was an interesting little wrinkle that I heard today, and read today about that. So
I mean, I guess you don't really think about things like that, but you only have to look perhaps at something like the Olympics to see how heavily dominated that can often be by sort of Chinese or Asian athletes, gymnasts, and the same with the Russians, infamously sort of teach from such a young age, and they're drilled, and that's why they've been so historically successful. And that I'd never really associated the two, but actually, yes, it must translate then to gymnasts who are in sort of more of a performing area than a sporting area. And I'm using gymnasts just as one example. Of course, there are so many other different things. We know there are a lot of clowning. Clowning comes a lot from Europe. And there are just various different skills and things within a circus. I'd certainly not really thought about it, but it's going to prove to be quite a stumbling block in a way, I would think.
It's a particular thing that has hit that sector, which, as again, like yourself, I hadn't really taken on board how the international travel would affect a huge company, a huge cast. So there'll be. I'm going to keep an eye on that story and see what happens there, because that was something that struck me.
Yeah.
But that is our little bit of. Did I mention? So we said that theatres will remain open.
Yes.
For the Queen's funeral. So I think I mentioned that a minute ago. But so that's my little bit of theatre news from this week. So
thank you very much. Now speaking of news. We have been inundated. Well, we haven't, but we've had a few messages, sort of comments and things, because not last week, because last week we had the brilliant Dave Bain on, who was highly, highly entertaining and talked about some very, very important subjects. But before that, the week before that, we both didn't really give away much. And for anyone that's not seen that episode or listened to that episode, please do go back, because it was rather secretive, and it was all about things that we couldn't talk about, which, as you can probably imagine on a podcast, is an odd way of going about things. But so since then, we have been contacted by a few sort of fans and followers, people messaging us, asking, can we give updates yet? Because we obviously made it sound really entertaining, and we obviously made it sound like it was something that people really wanted to find out about. So I put the question to you, Mr. Fettis. Are you allowed to reveal any of your secrets yet?
I can say that I've been filming a commercial.
Right.
And the products at this moment I probably shouldn't mention.
Right.
What it is about. But however, I can say that there is a reason for that. And that will become patently clear. But what I can say that one of the wrinkles of the filming is that I have been using and working in prosthetics, which is something a discipline that I hadn't worked in before. I've had masks and used, but this is a heavy makeup job. If I say I'm in the makeup chair for 3.5 hours, and it's some people may say that I need that work, but it is for a specific.
If you're going to steal the things that I'm going to take the piss out of you with, then you might as well just do a solo show, mate. Go on, then carry on.
Sorry about that, mate. Sorry, but no, it is for a particular character for this particular product, but it is a very interesting discipline. and I had the full head, life mask taken.
Yeah.
And then these extraordinarily talented people went away and created this amazing makeup that we're using. It's very strange. I look in the mirror and I know that's me, but over the top is this other character, and you think, okay, that's weird. And then I apply the other bits and pieces that have to go with the character. There is a particular accent, and then I walk onto the set, and it's like, wow, okay, that's great. And the wow has come from the client as well, so they're very pleased. And I've got used to it. It took some time. I had several makeup tests, and then got the makeup on. And once it's on, and used to it, and it starts to move with me. But I mean, someone said to me, one of the makeup technicians said, it is a particular skill. Some people can do it, some people can't. Some people get very claustrophobic, which draws their performance in. And I mean, there are hundreds, thousands of actors that are working in prosthetics. I mean, if you think of all the Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, and Game of Thrones, and any any of those sort of fantasy roles, that's prosthetics left, right, and center.
Yeah, I mean, and as you know, I've done quite a lot of work in prosthetics for various different things, and it is an entirely new experience. I mean, I've done anything from, I played 1 year, I did pantomime, and I played the Beast in Beauty and the Beast, so I had sort of a rather large prosthetic for that. That was a couple of hours prior to each show, getting ready. For anyone that checked it out, they'll see that when I did the book covers for the Wasteland Road Night series, we had obviously Andrew Dobell, the writer of those, on for all the promo material for that, and for the book covers and stuff. I had sort of slight prosthetic things like scars applied and certain things to my face. And equally, another project I did with Andrew, where I was a zombie Nazi. We've talked about that before as well. That was quite extreme makeup for that. And I've also, I don't think we've mentioned this before or talked about it, but I did a horror movie where, sorry for anyone that's squeamish, but part of it, I had my eye gouged out, but for that, I had a full, like you were talking about, a full sort of head cast, and incredibly talented makeup artist, Bella, if you're listening, hi. She created my head basically again. So she cast me, then created another me out of that. And from that, they were able to sort of use a fake head to gouge it. So there are some stunningly talented special effects makeup artists out there. But as you say, it's an interesting process. It's something that you have to get used to. There are some people that can't cope with it. It's something that you can't really describe how it feels. Like you were just saying there, it's you, but when you take on something that's so different, you kind of sort of, it's a bit, it takes you back. Like
it does, doesn't it?
Hang on, I know it's me, but wow, like I didn't know I could look like that. So yeah, it's quite a bit. Equally, what an experience, like what an entertaining thing to be involved in.
It's great. And I mean, as I say, I like to pay my own tribute to the makeup artists that I will be able to reveal subsequently, tell you more about it. But talking about disciplines and looking in mirrors, now you can tell us a little bit more about what you've been filming now, can't you? You can reveal a little bit more about of yourself, as it were.
So equally, a couple of weeks ago, when we were discussing and we couldn't talk about what you'd been up to, I also was still under a non-disclosure agreement. I couldn't really reveal the secrets behind this feature film that's in production. No, I am now able to talk about it because it has sort of gone public, and there have been some sort of promo images and stuff out, and eagle-eyed people that have spotted any of them may have noticed that I appear in certain images with a very, very different look. And that's because I am honoured and hugely excited to say that the latest film I'm working on is a film called Zombikini, which is a ridiculous name, but it's so perfectly suited. But it's a sort of indie horror movie where I not only play one character, but I play two, because I am lucky enough to have been cast in the role of twins. So I have been through this incredible process where speaking to the director and the producer and the people involved, and they said, right, this is how we're going to go about this. They are identical twins. However, we want them to be fairly different, and they don't necessarily mean just in looks. I mean, there are certain things. So that was an entire process in itself. So for example, I have prosthetic teeth in to make one of them look like he's got slightly different teeth. I wear a wig, and the costumes and sort of the accessories and stuff, silly things like I've got my ear pierced, one of them wears an earring, one of them doesn't. Simple little things like that suit different personalities. But equally, my biggest focus has been the difference in personality and the difference in sort of mannerisms and things like that. So as I say, it's a massive honor. It's an enormous challenge, one that I'm really, really grateful to have been able to accept and to take on. But it's something that I've certainly never done before, even been anywhere close to doing anything like this before. And it's so much fun. As much as it is an enormous challenge and it is hard work, and I've had to do a lot of sort of studying beforehand and working things out and a lot of discussion. It's yeah, what an opportunity.
Can I ask, because you're talking about, you know, creating the two characters with the looks, which and thank you for sending a quick little glimpse over prior to recording today, so I could just have a little glimpse. I mean, you look amazing. I could just say it's fabulous, and you look very different. I mean, I know it's you because of course I do. And when you look at the characters, you know, you go, yeah, I get they're twins, but there's enough difference to make them, you know, separate entities. And when you created that, because I've never gone through that process, did you have in mind the look of the characters and then flesh them out from that, or did you go, okay, that's the character for that, I want him to look like that, and that's the character for that? Well, what kind of came first, as it were?
It's a chicken and egg scenario, isn't it? Do you know, it's an interesting one because it's almost a bit of both. So the twins I play are called Noah and Charlie, and Noah is a scientist and Charlie is a bit more of sort of a cool kid model / he's a trainee doctor. So immediately the character descriptions I was given, and having had very lengthy discussions with the director and the producer and various other people, they had certain directions, excuse the pun, that they wanted to go with each character. Noah, as a scientist, he was described as being quite regimented, quite sort of blunt to the point, not so much creative, like he very kind of literal. So his appearance and his mannerisms and stuff are very sort of simplistic, not elaborate. So he was quite fleshed out as a character in that respect, and from there he doesn't wear any jewelry. Things like I've got, people know I've got tattoos. They are covered up when I play him. He's very sort of straight shooter. He's driven by what he does, and because of that, his wardrobe is quite simplistic. So working with wardrobe people as well, we were looking at things like what would each of them wear. So Noah was quite easy to kind of go, right, he wears a pair of glasses, he's got his hair short and neat, but it's not kind of elaborate, and he is kind of what you see is what you get.
Right.
To contrast that, because Charlie's character and sort of the way he was described or the way he was written, he's a bit more creative, he's a bit more, for want of a better word, fun. His costume is slightly more interesting. He's just more creative in general. So things like he wears an earring and he's got various bits of jewelry and the tattoos are on show. So he's more artistic, more kind of interesting. His hair is blonde and it's sort of more fashionable, and he's almost got not more personality, but he's more quirky and more sort of describable. He stands out a bit more.
Yeah.
So that came more from Noah in that we wanted that contrast there. So I think there's and I hope I'm not spoiling anything, but I hope I'm allowed to. There is a line somewhere in there where they're described as being the worst twins ever, or really bad twins, because they're very much not alike, although they're identical, and you can tell they are brothers, and they sound pretty much alike. There's a slight sort of speech impediment for what I've tried to mix up a little bit. So
yeah,
some of the differences aren't too stark, as in, right, you're deliberately just trying to make one different. That they are very much, or I'm trying to play them very much as they are twins. They are very alike, but they have their own sort of, they've gone down different paths, like forks in the road. Is
there that synergy between twins that have you made them so that people say, you know what, one twin knows what the other one's thinking? Is there that kind of or are they, is that something that to make them different you've gone, no, we'll separate them totally? Do you know, we're sort of early days filming still, and a lot of the stuff I've done so far has sort of been building each of the characters. I haven't got to any of the really fun stuff yet, which is where I'm in scenes with myself, which is all right. It's going to be incredible. I mean, I'm so excited about it, and then tip my hat in advance to our editor, who's going to have quite the job on their hands. But yeah, I think that there are certainly going to be connections between, and when the time they do spend together, there will be that sort of invisible bond, so to speak, that goes beyond just the normal. But yeah, it's such an exciting thing, and I'm having such fun developing it. And yes, it's a huge challenge, particularly on the days where I do bits of both, like having to sort of change halfway through the day, and then sit with a makeup artist and change things around and whatever, and then go, right, I'm now in the mindset of this one, and those things are changing. Yeah, really, really sort of not difficult, but challenging, but certainly one that I'm relishing the opportunity. It's a big acting challenge, isn't it? I mean, I was trying to think what other actors I know. I mean, one that springs to mind, because it was a favorite film of mine, was Jeremy Irons. He played I think it was a David Cronenberg film, Dead Ringers, where he played two very, very, very creepy brothers or twins. But that's the only one I can really come to mind. I've been actually sort of sitting here as you've been talking, going, who else is there? Do you know what? There was and obviously I did quite a lot of research, and I watched a few things to try and get that. The one that probably most people will remember from recent times is Legend, Tom Hardy. Oh, of course.
Played the Cray Twins. Yeah, unbelievable. Now they had sort of slightly different traits to them, but in essence were very similar in their sort of motives and their drive. But he was phenomenal in that. He won various awards for that. He was really, really brilliant. Yeah, he was stunning. Other ones that Nicolas Cage was in a film called Adaptation, where he played twins. He was Oscar nominated for that. So I've not seen that one, but not one I know. Hugely positive things about it. Another very recent one, I think the series was only released last year. A series called I Know This Much Is True, which is Mark Ruffalo. And he plays twin brothers, one of whom is paranoid schizophrenic. So massive challenge, like, to be able to do that. And that's something that I'm trying to find the time to sit and watch my way through the series. But he's a hugely talented actor anyway. And there were a couple that when I was doing my research that sort of I went, oh God, I'd forgotten that. So here's one that people will know but won't realize they know. And it'll only, if I said to you Friends. Of course, yes. Lisa Kudrow, she plays her own twin sister. Phoebe and Ursula. Now, here's an interesting fact, something that I dug up while I was doing my research. Ursula came first. And this is, people don't realize it, and I had no idea at all, but it's only from reading through. There was a series called Mad About You. And I can't remember, Lisa Kudrow, I said it a minute ago. She was in that, playing a waitress named Ursula. Then Friends came out very soon, so they were out at the same time. And I believe the writers sort of got together and chatted, and basically, so the general public weren't a bit like, well, she's in that series and that series, she looks right. They just brought Ursula from Mad About You into Friends as well.
Wow.
So the two ran sort of at the same time. I think obviously Mad About You ended quite early days, whereas Friends went on for years and years, and obviously is probably the most famous of the original sort of sitcoms that have come and hugely successful. But yeah, so she did that, and obviously a different kind of style to some of the others we mentioned, because it's very comic, and Ursula was quite a contrasting character to Phoebe, who already was quite all over the place and very sort of eccentric. So, but yes, that's one people tend to forget. One from my youth, not so much yours, I'm afraid, but Lindsay Lohan in The Parent Trap. Although
Parent Trap, yeah.
Actually, I'm trying to think. Was it, because that was a remake? The original was it Hayley Mills?
Hayley Mills, yes, yeah. Yes, it was, yeah.
So again, another sort of. But Lindsay Lohan, interestingly, has done it twice. So she was in another film 10 years after The Parent Trap, I think sort of like 2007. And it was called I Know Who Killed Me, something like that, where she played twin sisters in that as well. So
wow.
I don't think anyone else has ever played two sets of twins.
Two sets of twins,
obviously
no.
10 years apart. But
yeah.
And then another couple worth mentioning, Armie Hammer in The Social Network. He played the Winklevoss, I think, the twins. So
yeah.
the original founders of Facebook, or they weren't the founders of Facebook, but I think the story goes that they sort of had the idea, and then
it was their concept, wasn't it?
Zuckerberg then sort of took it upon himself. I don't know how it went, but Armie Hammer was brilliant in that. But they are identical, sort of the finish each other's sentences style twins.
Wow.
So that's a slightly different look at it. And the other one that made me really sort of go, oh my gosh, my childhood, or certainly being younger. Do you remember a film called The Man in the Iron Mask?
Yeah, yes, of course.
Leonardo DiCaprio. And that's it's a book originally, or a story by, is it Alexandre Dumas?
Alexandre Dumas, yeah.
Who he obviously famous for The Count of Monte Cristo and
Three Musketeers.
Three Musketeers, yeah. So, and interestingly, doing a bit of research about that, because I remember the film and thought, I loved it, I've got to watch it.
Yes.
Stunning film. Really got quite slated. People didn't really like it, but he had just done Titanic. So it's kind of like, how do you follow that?
How do you follow that? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just, it's very much sort of inspired lots of things. So the story of the Prince and the Pauper, which is a Mark Twain, I think.
I think you're right.
That was about 40 or 50 years later. So that inspired great things. But another opportunity to play, or for someone to play twins, but two very, very different. So one very sort of regal and sort of out there, and the other one very sort of submissive and whatever. So the mixture of those two characters, all these things were quite inspiring for me, reading through them and sort of seeing how these people did it. Another one, or final one I should probably mention, and he's probably more famous not for playing twins, but for playing multiple roles. You've got to talk about Eddie Murphy, because you think about The Nutty Professor, where he played basically an entire family, but that wasn't his first, or he's I can't remember if it's before or after, but he also played twins in another film, so he's sort of done it more than once. Do you remember Bowfinger?
Yes.
I don't remember ever watching it, but he played one who was like sort of a superstar, rich, famous, whatever, and he had a very shy twin. So there's more of it than you think. And this was when I was doing research and thinking, right, this is a huge opportunity for me. I want to do this right. I want to have done my research and sort of looked into. The list is endless.
I mean, and you reminded me of so many there I'd completely forgotten about. To almost take it for granted.
Yeah, but each and every one of them did an incredible job. Very different in their styles and the way they went about it, and equally very different sort of relationships or similarities or differences between each set of twins or brothers or sisters or whatever. But for me, it was necessary to sort of watch that and see those influences and I'm obviously putting my own spin on it as well, and
yeah,
I'm relishing this opportunity, but hoping that I do it justice. So, but yeah, so that's why it's been kept secret for a little while, and I don't think I'm even. So the film is on IMDb, but I don't think I'm even listed yet because it was being kept a secret early days. Because
brilliant.
But now that there's promo stuff out, it's kind of unavoidable. But yeah, just so that's my real exciting project at the moment. I've got various other things coming up as well, which I'm excited about. But that one right now is it's certainly making me smile and making me work. Let's put it that way.
I knew, obviously,
Yes.
told me little bits and pieces, but I'm so glad you've been able to tell people because. I mean, yeah, I've seen the little picture and that, and I know how hard and how proud you are of doing it. So, I mean, obviously, you've got more filming coming up.
Yeah, lots more. Yeah, we've good few months yet to go on this one, so plenty to come. And as I say, we've yet to do any of the scenes where I'm in it with me. So those
that'll be interesting.
I'm looking forward to. We've done some promo shoots where I've had to stand both sides and it's all been edited together, but. Nothing solid where I have a conversation with myself just yet.
That'll be the fun part, mate.
Oh yeah,
brilliant.
So there we go. There's my revelation. Yours obviously will come in due course when you're allowed to reveal a bit more.
Yeah,
but I have to say, mate, it's been an absolute joy chatting to you, as it always is.
Mate, it's great. It's really great.
Some really exciting stuff coming up. I know that you're currently mid rehearsals at the moment, and that's going really well. So really pleased for that. And to top it off, we got a guest coming up.
Another one.
I know. Aren't we greedy, mate? So much going on.
What can you say?
But I tell you what, we're not going to reveal. We're going to keep this a secret as well. But the next guest episode is pretty special.
Yeah, it always is, isn't it?
Well, it always is, but this one, there's a particular reason for this one, and people are going to get annoyed. They've been writing in and going, look, will you just tell us what the secret is for what you two are up to? And we've allowed a little bit of that, and now we're throwing another.
I know, which is trying to,
yeah. But yeah, no, I am mega excited for next week, and to have a good old chat with yourself and possibly someone else.
The guest. Who knows?
So I'll tell you what, mate. Once again, I'll raise my glass, but this time to you, to things that are going well, to next week, and as always, a massive thank you to everyone that's tuned in. Stick with us. We've got some really, really exciting stuff coming up.
We have indeed. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers, everyone. See you later.
Take care, Sam. All best, mate.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks again for watching this episode of Drewling Samantics.
Please make sure you subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you never miss a new video.
Don't forget, we're also available as audio only. Just search Drewling Samantics in any good podcast app. And please support us on social media. All our links and handles are on screen now.
We love welcoming new followers and subscribers, so why not share with your family and friends so they can join in too? Thanks very much. See you next time.